All right. Okay. I think we have audio working. So thank you, Dulik on YouTube, for joining us and letting me know about the audio problems. Uh, Thank you, Melly, as well. All right. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me now, or a text thumbs up. All right, I'm going to keep going, assuming that audio is working fine. Happy Saturday, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you joining us on both LinkedIn Live, Paramdeep, Huck as well. I think, am I pronouncing the name Dulik correctly? Anyway, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, Dulik. Thank you for letting me audio is coming through nice and clear. All this expensive equipment, and I was on mute. All right. So, anyway, okay. So what I'm going to be doing is a series of episodes of live broadcasts covering every chapter in my book, Hacking Connected Cars. Now, the neat thing about this is that I will actually be doing the lab exercises. So for those of you who, hey, Wise Fox, thanks for joining us. For those of you who have been messaging me on LinkedIn, messaging me on Twitter, telling me that you can't get Yate BTS running, you're having compiling issues, you're having all sorts of problems regarding setting up the tools, maybe with Flexion, you will have the opportunity to walk through the setup of those tools and implementation of those tools here live on this weekly broadcast. So I will be going live every week. I'm going to be publishing the dates for when the live episodes will be broadcasting every week. I am going to stick to a day and time, the same time every week, so you guys will know when to tune in and can participate in Q&A. I would definitely not recommend missing the lab exercise because it seems to be something that a lot of you care a lot about. Maybe you're skipping the content in the book and you're going right to the setup of the tools. That's okay. Although I would recommend actually reading my book because I think it's actually good, especially the introduction. The introduction kicks butt. So anyway, all right. So those of you who missed the introduction because my audio wasn't working, happy Saturday. Thank you for joining us yesterday. I apologize about canceling the 5 o'clock live broadcast. My wife and I are in the process of building a house. We had some issues out at the new house. Anyway, long story short, thank you for understanding. We had an awesome conversation about whether or not you have to be a programmer in order to be a hacker. Talked about that yesterday in an impromptu live broadcast at 2 o'clock. And it was fun. I'm actually going to be inviting a few of the folks on both sides of the debate to hash this out. Let's talk about it. Let's come to the table and talk about why I think you're wrong. Okay. So with that being said, I actually have a PowerPoint for you guys. Yes, here's the PowerPoint. Now, there's one change to the announcement. Because of the depth, the technical depth that I want to go to in each chapter, I cannot squeeze more than one chapter in per live broadcast. So before, if you joined us for the book club, the Hackers Book Club, where I went through like 2 or 3 chapters per session, that isn't enough time to cover the depth that I want to cover the book at. So, so that's what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, let me see here. I'm going to do auto live so I don't have to keep clicking my mouse. So what I'm going to do is in each live broadcast, I will be monitoring for your guys' questions on LinkedIn and YouTube. Now, you guys, I really am trying to meet the 40,000 hour minimum, watch time minimum on YouTube to join the partner program. I met the number of subscribers. So if you guys get a notification on LinkedIn to watch me on LinkedIn, it doesn't help me on my watch time if you're watching on LinkedIn. So I will broadcast live to LinkedIn, but if you don't mind, if you don't mind watching these live broadcasts from my YouTube channel, it will help me out a lot. So if you want to, it's youtube.com/c/AlyssaKnight/live. and that's where you can watch this live broadcast on YouTube, and it really helps my my watch time. So if you want to support me, if you want to support my content, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and watch me live on YouTube every week. All right, so yes, look at the size of these antennas. My antennas are bigger than yours. I will be talking about the Nuance Blade RF 2.0. I will be talking about the Wi-Fi Pineapple. I will be talking about the Alpha external wireless card. These things are amazing. I swear I can like broadcast a signal across the entire city with these things. All right, let's get to it. I'm going to hit the PowerPoint now. Okay, so what that will mean is I will be talking through each slide. Now, one thing I want all of you guys to know is that there is a free download of templates from the book. If you go to wiley.com/go/hackingcars, that is where I will be posting updates for my book. So those of you who are contacting me and letting me know about dead links in the book, I will be updating the book from that site. Now, I don't know if Wiley actually updates the ebook, the Kindle version of the book, when I submit updates for the book. I don't know if they automatically push out a new version of it. Anyway, the updates for the book will be submitted to Wiley on the go/hackingcars site. Now, one of the coolest things that I loved about reading any kind of book was when the author made templates available. Now, raise your hand. Just kidding. I can't see your hands. But let me know in the chat if you guys have gone out there and Googled for templates for penetration testing, scope documents, ROE forms, RACI charts, project schedules, risk assessment templates, pen test templates, pen test report templates for hacking connected cars. Let me know in the chat if you found them. They aren't out there unless it's the template I've made available. So one of the things that I've always really loved about books that I've read in the past is when the author actually makes templates available. Anyway, so go check out the template site. I've got sample pen test scope document. I've got a rules of engagement form. We'll talk about what these individual templates are for, like a RACI chart, a work breakdown structure. But these are all very integral in you performing penetration testing of either a telematics control unit or TCU or a head unit. Now, you guys will hear me use the term TOE and throughout the book as well as throughout this live broadcast. TOE stands for target of evaluation. So if you hear me say TOE, I'm talking about either a TCU or I'm talking about a head unit. TVA, welcome to the live broadcast. Thank you. I can't wait for you to get my book either. WiseFox, awesome. Thank you for the compliment. Yes, there are a lot of resources and templates. Hey, WiseFox, TVA, if you guys liked my book, Dolik, if you liked my book, please definitely submit a positive review on Amazon. I got trolled by a couple of them. One of them was actually a competitor of ours on Amazon who wrote a bad review. So please, if you loved my book, go write a positive review right now during this broadcast. I would really appreciate it. Okay, awesome. So just an FYI, some housekeeping. Again, I will be monitoring chat on LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you have any questions, please submit them there. If you have any compliments like, Alyssa, your hair looks amazing today, or I love your beach house, I wish I was there, let me know. I love compliments as well. All right, let's move on. All right, intervehicle communication. So one of the things that, thanks WiseFox. One of the things that I really was excited by was a gentleman that I met while I was living in Stuttgart, Germany, by the name of John Heldreth. And he's the head of cybersecurity, vehicle cybersecurity for Porsche Engineering. And John had talked to me about the fact that the new fleet of Porsches are actually moving to Ethernet Now, one of the things that's interesting about this diagram that I created is it gives you an idea of what the actual car looks like for that in-vehicle network. And while a lot of the car manufacturers are moving from things like CAN to Ethernet, these sort of technologies like the CAN will probably never go away. Why do I say that? Because even the headlights on a car are connected to the CAN. The locking mechanisms are connected to the CAN. Why would you take something like a lock on a door, or your little button for lowering and raising the windows in the car? Why would you pay the money to put an Ethernet port on there? Right? So there's some things that just don't make sense to put on Ethernet. This is a typical vehicle network right here. Imagine that everything outside of my mouse right here is the outside of the vehicle. So the TCU, the telematics control unit, is basically the demarc point. All right, so demarcation point, it's like the cable modem or the GSM, I'm sorry, the cable or the DSL modem into your house, right? It's that little box that's sitting in a little, cabinet on the wall. That's where your ISP's demarc is. That typically will run to a router that they provide you, like a DSL router or a cable modem. And so that will then route to an internal switch that you've got or wireless access point. So think of the TCU as the demarc for the car. All right, that is where the SIM chip in the car sits. When we are attacking the TCU over GSM, that is what we're attacking. Okay, so just remember the TCU is basically the connectivity to the outside world for the in-vehicle network. The TCU is typically connected to a gateway inside the car, and each individual networking technology, whether it's FlexRay or CAN, all of those will have routers in front of them. So it's very similar to a TCP/IP network or an Ethernet network within a computer network in a data center, right? In order to, you can't connect like a 10.1.0.0 network to a 10.2.0.0 network all on the same switch. You typically need something to translate or route between those different networks, right? So maybe you'll have a 10.1 network on one interface of the router, and on the other router, you'll have a 192.168 network. You can't just connect all of those different networks to the same, broadcast domain or switch. You need something to route between those networks. You need something to say, hey, this is destined for a network that I am not a member of, so I need to send that to my default gateway, and that will then route those packets to the other network. So it's very similar to a computer network, which is why you'll typically hear me say that cars are like networks on wheels today, right? They're not just these combustible engines. They're smart. There's a reason why they call them smart things or Internet of Things. Is everything that used to not be connected has an IP address now. In this case of connected cars, it's connectivity over GSM. Right, there's a SIM chip in it. All right, so this is inter-vehicle communication. This is the in-vehicle network. All right, cool. So hopefully you guys got that. All right, so in chapter 1, I talk about the different penetration testing frameworks there are that exist in the world. All right, one of the things that you'll hear me refer to throughout the book is the P-TES. Now, what I did is I went through the painstaking process of mapping the P-TES to the individual steps of a pen test against a TCU or a TOE, right? So when you're performing the penetration test, there are different penetration testing frameworks you can use. There's a bunch out there. The P-TES is not the only framework. It just happened to be the one that I've always used. So that's the one I'm going to teach you because that's the one I'm familiar with. Hopefully you guys are all following along. I don't see any questions or, Gisela Lopez Garcia, thank you for joining us. Yes, the P-TES, Penetration Testing Execution Standard. It's just the acronym for it. The website for it, if you guys want to learn more about it, is pentest-standard.org, I believe. So the PTES is basically just a community of people that have around the world contributed to creating this established framework, this established process for how a pen test should be conducted. All right, cool. So this is the framework I'm going to teach that I taught in my book. This is the framework I'm going to talk about in these live broadcasts. So the PTES, we're going to talk about the individual steps of it. Step 1 is the pre-engagement interactions. I can't stress this enough. Listen to me now. Pre-engagement is so freaking important. You guys cannot skip the step. This is where you're defining who the stakeholders are of the pen test. This is when you're going to schedule your meetings with them. This is where you're going to define your ROE, which is the rules of engagement, and the document collection. Document collection is so important, and it's one of the idiosyncratic distinctions between a car pen test and a regular pen test, like against an IIS web server. You typically don't go around meeting with stakeholders and collecting documentation from them. In a connected car pen test, Bravo, man. Welcome to the broadcast. Thank you. I've never been called Obi-Wan Knight before. That's amazing. I love you, Eager Padawan. Thank you for joining us. So yes, please don't skip the pre-engagement interactions. The document collection, this is where you're going to actually get engineering documentation. Yeah, you will be surprised how thorough the documentation is within the tier 1 OEMs and the car makers. You'll be shocked. I was surprised. I was like, damn, in cybersecurity and network engineering, we're never this thorough with documentation. This is amazing. And then you'll have the tier 1s and you'll have the other car makers who don't do documentation well. But I've been blessed enough where a lot of my clients had really good documentation. So you're going to get engineering documentation. You're going to get documentation that contains the IP schematics. You're going to get engineering documents with wiring schematics. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is a lot of you guys were like, hey, Alyssa, why are these diagrams and these images so blurry in the book? Those were done on purpose. A lot of you didn't realize this, but the book was actually created with client documentation as empirical data. So one of the things I wanted I really wanted to kind of shoot down before trolls started using it as ammunition was how much of this is real versus being made up. So I wanted to use real screenshots from my actual pen tests. And, so if you come across a diagram or let's say, so even the documentation, I had to sanitize a lot of stuff. So anyway, I don't want to just belabor the book, but the rules of engagement, and I promise we'll digress after this, but in pre-engagement interactions, if you don't specify your ROE with the client first, you could get in a lot of trouble in the middle of the project. Let me explain. So I got brought in by one of my clients for another year of pen testing for a new version that they were going to put in a new fleet of vehicles for 2020. And the TCU was out of scope. And when I was doing the pen test, I was finding vulnerabilities in the TCU and the communication between the TCU and the head unit. And guess what? The head unit team, the team in charge of infotainment, did not care. So you guys really, and girls, you really need to be very careful about the ROE. Find out what's in scope and not in scope of your pen test. One of the things that I learned very early on in doing connected car pen testing is the tier 1s and the automakers are very fractured, meaning that whereas we in cybersecurity, just in companies in general, even though there are silos, there's a lot of cooperation, at least in my experience, between networking and security. It's a lot better than it used to be. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's a lot better. But in the car world, the teams are very fractured, and there's a telematics group, there's an infotainment group, there's even a separate group in charge of the GPS stuff. So make sure that the team that you're doing the pen test for cares about what vulnerabilities you're going to find in either systems or other things outside of your TOE that maybe relies on communication with your TOE. So let's say, for example, one thing, for example, the infotainment system, the head unit's connected to a lot of stuff, right? Like the connectivity between the TCU and the head unit, that's major. If you can successfully execute an evil twin attack against the communication between the TCU and the head unit, that's a major thing, right? But if the TCU is out of scope, that needs to be documented in your ROE, and you need to have your client sign it. Both parties need to sign the ROE. All right, let's move on to intelligence gathering. This is where you're going to be doing passive and active reconnaissance, footprinting, information gathering, everything. This is where you're mapping out your attack surface. This is where you're figuring out what talks to what. Is there connectivity between the TCU and the head unit? If so, is it USB? I've seen that. Is it freaking wireless? Is it Ethernet? Figure out how those things are connected. You will rarely, and you guys might be shocked. And when I say guys, I mean in general, both girls and guys. You guys will be shocked where it's been more common than not where I'll run into a client where there is actually 5 gigahertz connectivity between the TCU and the head unit. And a lot of that is with costs. So, really fully understand in the reconnaissance stage, everything in your attack surface. What's talking to what? Are there custom ports and protocols? One of my clients was running a custom service that they programmed that the TCU was connected to. It was a proprietary custom protocol that they wrote. So all of this stuff, you need to spend a lot of time in an intel gathering. The other thing is, I don't know if a lot of you guys come from traditional pen testing, but the neat thing about that is when you enter the world of car pen testing, you just notice that in regular pen testing, you don't really do much passive reconnaissance. Like there's not really in the intelligence gathering stage where you'll get a foothold on the network and then just do passive reconnaissance. That's where you're throwing a sniffer up, and yes, you can sniff on a switch network. It's a thing a lot of people don't know. So it's rare when you actually do passive recon. It is very common in a car pen test. So figure out what's talking to what. Look at the protocol communications, and we'll talk about that as well, because in my book I actually cover certificate key exchange between the TCU and the backend car maker. Bravo Man asks, "Oh, bravo! You retracted the message. If you're gonna reword it. I will answer it. All right, or maybe I answered it and that's why you retracted it. Okay. So this is phase 3 is threat modeling. Now, I kind of ran into a faux pas in my book. I covered threat modeling because it's part of the PTES is a step. So I wanted to cover it in the pen testing. But it's also part of our risk assessment. So I also cover it in part 2 of the book under risk assessment. Now, one of the things that you guys may or may not agree with, but I think threat modeling is really important even in a pen test. It really helps you map the dichotomy of relationships between assets and attackers. You can't defend against an enemy that you do not know, right? Standard, Sun Tzu, Art of War stuff. You need to know who it is and what it is they are targeting in a connected car in order to defend against it. So threat modeling is a really important stage. And I talk about the different threat modeling frameworks that are out there, like PASTA is one. There's a lot of great documentation on PASTA, by the way. No, it's not just a food. There is also my favorite, which is Microsoft Stride. So if you guys want some really good reading, go out there and Google Microsoft Stride. It is a bitchin' framework. I love Stride. Um, okay, let me answer you. Bravo, man. In your experience, does the client give you actual access to the car or system? Yeah, this is a really good question. So it depends. Sometimes I'll typically be brought into two phases. The first phase is a microbench where they've got the head unit and the TCU and the software installed in a microbench. And I actually talk about microbenches in the book. Ooh, I have a typo here on phase 6. So it depends on the client. Typically you'll be at a test bench where there'll be like a little mini rack. A microbench is just nothing more than a little cage hooked up to a power supply. And it's literally you're using software provided by the automaker that simulates stopping and starting the car. It'll typically have a picture of the dash. And it'll simulate a car. It'll simulate an actual car. And so it'll power up. It'll go through the typical startup sequences of an automobile. It's really freaking cool, you guys. So Bravo Man, yes, they do give you access to the car system, typically in a microbench. After you're testing and they've fixed the vulnerabilities, I've had a client bring me into the actual car once it's been implemented into production. TVA, total newbie is totally cool. I love it when people hang their ego at the door. We're all here to learn. I'm always learning. I'm consider myself to be a lifelong student. There's people that just got into car pen testing and have taught me new stuff. So we should always practice hanging our ego at the door. So welcome to the group. Hey, you guys, because I hit the minimum 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, they allowed me to create a community. So I'm actually going to be building out my community on YouTube. So if you guys want to follow and join the community, awesome. Yeah, it's available for you there. So we got to create this little Knight Rider community. Okay. Vulnerability analysis is the next stage. This is where you're going to do passive and active analysis of vulnerabilities, including reviewing CVEs and static code analysis. Okay, you are going to spend a lot of time on vulnerability analysis, and if you don't, if you try and rush through it, like, I'm just going to run a Nessus scan because I have an IP, and once I'm done with that, I'm going to exploit any exploitable vulnerabilities. No. This is why I'm always saying that you can't just throw a rock and hit a pen tester and ask them, any number of them, if they can do a car pen test. It's such a different world. Vulnerability analysis is even different in car pen testing. It's rare when you're doing a pen test against a network and you're like telling the client, I'm going to go out and read all the CVEs that are related to your guys' network. Show me a pen tester that's done that. That would suck. Talk about needing like sleeping material. This is very common in a car pen test. Let me explain. I have had tier 1 OEMs give me the actual RFP that they won from the car maker, and it actually spells out that you have to map out all of the relevant CVEs that's your system is affected by. One of the things you guys need to understand is that cars are bastardized stacks of different people's gobbledygook, meaning that you typically, unlike, think about, okay, for those of you who used to custom build computers, do you guys remember back in the day when you'd custom build a computer and you picked out like the baddest, most expensive Asus motherboard? Yes, I used to build PCs. Asus motherboard. You went out there and you researched it and you found the best hard drive back when they were before SSDs. You got the best RAM from Kingston, and you got the best CPU, and you researched the best coolants. It was a hodgepodge of different companies' stuff. Cars are the same way. That's why I always felt bad. Like when that Jeep hack happened, you guys remember that Jeep hack? That's all you heard about was Jeep, this, Jeep, that, shame on Jeep, shame on Jeep. You guys, like a big part of that attack, a big part of that vulnerability was the head unit. That head unit was not a Jeep head unit. It was a completely different company's head unit. I won't throw them under the bus right now, but they were actually one of my clients. After the actual issue happened, they became my client. Not before. Let's make that clear. So vulnerability analysis is very important. You're going to be doing both static and active. Yes, you'll be using different warning scanners, but get your mind out of the mindset of Nessus. I'm talking about other types of vulnerability scanners that you're going to be using. I did talk about some of them in my book, Vulnerability Analysis. I actually covered evil twin attacks and vulnerability analysis, at least a portion of it, because it fell within it. And this is what I hate about frameworks. Okay, and I don't know if you guys noticed this about frameworks. You know how they separate vulnerability analysis, recon, and exploitation all out into distinct steps? Okay, I get the reasoning behind that, but if you think about it, when you run a Nessus scan, you're actually doing both recon and vulnerability analysis in the same step, right? When you are doing exploitation, let's say you're using Metasploit, you've got your reconnaissance modules in Metasploit, so your scanners and so that's recon, but you're also doing exploitation within Metasploit. So a lot of these are going to bleed together. The lines are going to get very blurred. So I just want to make that point. So even though you'll be in the vulnerability analysis chapter and you're like, Alyssa, why are you covering evil twin attacks? That's technically exploitation. Well, it's exploitation once you identify the ability to perform an evil twin attack and then take that further and actually inject yourself in between the TCU and head unit and start sending data and actually becoming active and trying to do something with that evil twin scenario. It's blurry. Leave me alone. It's blurry. Fine. But yes, vulnerability analysis is important. Hit those CVEs. You guys, asset catalog. That's really important. You should have an asset catalog at this point, which was part of the Intel stage. This is also rare in a pen test in a regular network. You rarely will create an asset register of everything. You're going to need to do that in car pen testing. It's very common, and the OEM will ask for a list of relevant CVEs that affect their assets. Okay, so yeah, it's not all at a bash shell, you guys. It's not always at a bash shell. You are researching CVEs. You may reach out to third parties for access to source code. Remember, even with the OEMs, they're using other people's stuff too. You're not always going to have access to source code. As a matter of fact, it is a huge pain in the butt trying to get your hands on source code. So it's rare when you do static code analysis. It's more common to having to take binaries and reverse engineer it in like IDA Pro or decompile it and then do it. All right. Any new questions or comments? Yes, Lokish. Thanks for joining us. Stride rocks. Love Stride. I love it. I actually did a lot of research into different threat modeling frameworks. There's so much documentation and so many things a part of Stride that make total sense. And guess what? I actually mapped Stride to the PTES to the individual steps of a car pen test. I'm that cool. I did that much work for you. They want the list of the CVE that are applicable for the final report or proof of concept. Oh, good question, Bravo. It was typically asked for in the final report. So when we did the pen test, because I don't expect you guys to be like, oh, this CVE is relevant to them. I'm going to go find a related vulnerability to the CVE, and then I'm going to see if it's exploitable. Who does that? No one does that. That's like reverse order. Typically you do vulnerability analysis, then exploitation. The CVE thing is just kind of like an FYI for the client. I'm just putting it in there that you guys are going to you guys are going to be asked for it quite frequently, so don't be surprised. My good friend, Robert Leali, you guys know him as Carfucker on Twitter. Great handle. He actually, I brought him in on this project and he actually did that for me. It sucks. It's not fun. Like you're out there querying CVEs for relevant stuff to what the OEM has installed in their system. It sucks. Anyway, yeah. Bravo, you will have to probably just include it in your final report. So don't worry about it. Okay. Exploitation. This is the exploitation of vulnerabilities found in the previous phase. I don't really need to spend much time on this. It's taking the vulnerabilities you found and exploiting them. If it's vulnerable to an evil twin attack, which 99.9999% of the time it is, this is where you take that further. If you were able to get the TCU in the vulnerability analysis stage to associate to your rogue base station, and yes, in the lab setup in the next episode next week. I will walk you through setting up your Rogue base station. So we will be doing that. So if you missed that part in the intro, I see quite a few people joined late. In today's episode, I'm going through chapter 1, and then in the next episode next week, I'm going to walk you through the setup of these tools and how to get it working. A lot of you, I get it. Yate BTS is a serious pain in the ass. It's like a rocket scientist needs to, you need to be a rocket scientist in order to configure it working. I get it. I've been there. I've done that. I'll help you with it. So we're going to be doing that in the next episode. Okay. Post-exploitation, this is setting up your persistent access to the TOE. Okay. Are you guys ready for this? This is funny. All right. I was thinking like, okay, post-exploitation, man, how would you set up like persistent access to a freaking car? Dude, we figured it out in the last project I did. So get this. The client's head unit had a web browser running on it. And so what we did was we actually set up a back door that we created. I think it was like with Veil Framework or something, right? We wanted to make this fancy binary, backdoor binary. And obviously we're going to use Meterpreter shell. Why? Because why not? Work smart, not hard. Don't hate. So we created this ARM architecture backdoor for Meterpreter. Browsed to the, I think we set up like a free EC2 instance or something. Browsed to the IP with the web browser on the head unit and downloaded the binary that we created to the head unit and freaking ran it. And it did a reverse connection back to our Kali box running Metasploit. It was freaking awesome. It was awesome. We had a persistent backdoor to a freaking car. Beat that, man. Beat that. That was awesome. It was awesome. Come on. Those are bragging rights at a cocktail party. It was awesome. Yeah. So it can be done. It is a thing. It's like, oh my God, my freaking Daewoo or my freaking Honda is running a Meterpreter backdoor. That's doing a reverse shell back to a Kali box. Running in a lab. I love that. I love the time that we live in. We live in an awesome time. Reporting. Okay, you guys are gonna think I'm a total nerd, but reporting, I think, is the most important phase. It's the most important phase. Taking screenshots during the exploitation phase. There's a lot of times where I was sitting down with Robert in a room or his team in the room and be like, yeah, like should have took screenshots of that, especially that reverse shell. That was awesome. Why didn't we do a screenshot? Don't forget to record your screen. You know, create video if you want. There's so many different Linux-based screen recorders. A lot of you may be asking, hey, Alyssa, what distro do you run? I use a combination of things. I got really big into Mint for a while. Love Mint. Love Mint. Love Ubuntu. I'm an Ubuntu girl. And I love Kali. Kali's a great distro. You know why I don't really like Kali? You know why I'm kind of against those hacker distros? You've got a bunch of shit scattered all over the system. Sorry, you guys. If you have any kids around you, put on your earphones. I tend to swear a lot. Sorry. It's cool. So if you have the opportunity, definitely record your screen, take screenshots because you're going to need them for your report. Case boy, it's very common where you'll want to include some cool screenshots. Pictures say 1,000 words. And I've been in rooms where developers are like, we don't believe you did that. That's not possible. Okay, come on. You guys, put a comment in one of the chats if you've been up against a developer who's like, that's not possible, and you had to prove it. It's common. Even in a regular network pen test. I get it all the time. If you guys have seen my video on my YouTube channel where I hacked that European bank through their API server, it's awesome. By the way, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's one of my KnighTV episodes. I think it's episode What episode is it, guys? 13 or something? Anyway, it's like you'll see from the title. It's like hacking a bank through their API server. Anyway, they put me in a conference call with the company that developed their API endpoints for this bank, and they develop endpoints for a bunch of banks. So this vulnerability that I found affected not just one bank, everyone. It affected every bank every client of theirs. It was amazing. It was probably one of my most epic hacks. Anyway, they didn't believe it. So what did I do? I had a video waiting. To prove it. I even put it to some really slick Daddy Yankee song, and then had like a Friday where, Ice Cube and was it Chris Tucker? Like, damn! It was awesome. It was cool. You should see it if you haven't seen it. Anyway, okay, let's take some questions. YY, thank you for joining us today. I am just wondering if you were able to trick the TCU to connect to your Yate BTS and perform MIDM attack. The answer to your question, YY, is yes. As a matter of fact, if you look in the book, there's a screenshot where you actually will see. Are you guys ready for this? Are you ready? Wireshark. Yes. You can actually get your TCU to associate to Yate, which is technically called a rogue BTS or a rogue base station, or you'll hear me refer to it as a dirt box. But you can actually get the car to associate to Yate or your rogue BTS and actually sniff those packets. And we will be doing that in the next episode next week. So make that popcorn, get that beer ready. Bravo, get that beer ready. And watch it. It's going to be an awesome episode. Okay. Elwin, thank you for joining us. Elwin Price. You asked threat modeling. You mentioned the Microsoft what? Yeah, Stride. Yeah, Microsoft Stride. It is a threat modeling framework. It is my favorite, is Microsoft Stride. I don't know, maybe we'll do a sample risk assessment together using Microsoft Stride. That'll be fun. I'm never running out of content ideas. Okay. I love to make drawings. I love creating illustrations. These are the individual steps that you'll find in the book for PTES, from intelligence gathering all the way to post-exploitation, and I gave you the individual steps that you need to perform at each stage. That's why I was like, dude, what's with these trolls who are saying, like, doing a review of my book and saying, I cover things at a superficial level that I don't go into much depth. Are you freaking kidding me? I give you like the individual steps, step by step, on what you need to do in each stage. All right, intelligence gathering, collection of engineering documentation. We talked about that. Identify your stakeholders, create a stakeholder matrix, put their contact information in there. Threat modeling, create your asset register, identification of threat communities, application of threats to assets. Then you're going to do vulnerability analysis. I'm running through this quickly because we all just talked about this. Creating a register of installed application software, including OS on the head unit and their versions, example, web browser. Yeah, so there's been vulnerable versions of Chromium that I found running on head units. I got a notification. A lot of you guys ask her, I get the common question is, what car do I drive? It's a Mercedes E300. And no, I won't say that. I won't go there. All right. I got a notification on our head unit that the web browser because there's like a tablet there. And I don't know if you guys have seen the new Mercedes E series, and the S series, there's a large tablet. That's the dashboard. So it's no longer these individual manual dials and stuff. It's a massive tablet. Think of a Tesla, but going horizontally across the dashboard. And there was this pop-up window that said, Mercedes will no longer be offering the web browser as an option. Like, what is a web browser doing running on a head unit in a car anyway? Like, am I the only one saying WTF? Like, why would you need we all have smartphones. There's certain, countries living below the poverty line, third world countries, and you see these kids, in these tribes, running around with freaking iPhones. It's insane. I'm totally not trying to say anything that's not politically correct here. There was a news report about how families living below the poverty line in the United States are walking around with iPads and iPhones. It is a thing. Like seriously, like families that can't afford to buy groceries and buy food and put food on table or pay their electrical bill, their kids are running around with iPhones and iPads. Now, don't get me wrong, that's amazing, that's great. But seriously, my point is, why do you need a web browser running on your freaking car and your head unit, creating another attack surface when we all have phones in our pocket? When was the last time any of you guys used the GPS nav in your car? Like, what everyone does is they put the destination on their phone, whether using an Android or an iPhone, and then if you've got like Apple Car, Apple Auto, whatever it's called, or Android Auto, you plug the USB cable in your phone and it puts it up on the head unit. Why do you even need a GPS? What's the point of nav? Okay, maybe if you forget your phone at home, but don't we all just kind of freak out? It's like the end of the world if we leave our cell phone at home, so we have to turn around and go back and get it. Anyway, okay, I digress. Vulnerability analysis, very important. Creating a register of all installed tools, software on the TCU, including operating system. This is all really important. Like the most common OS I've run across in a head unit and even a TCU is actually, believe it or not, are you ready for this? Android. Android OS is very common. The other one I commonly run into is, what's it called? NVIDIA Linux. Yes. A lot of vulnerabilities in those operating systems. You guys got to know this stuff. Like, don't be like, okay, I'm ready to drop into a bash shell on my Ubuntu box. Let's do this pen test. You guys are skipping over so many important things. Like, you know, what comes with Android running as an OS on the TCU? Android debugger, right? ADB, Android debug bridge. Gisela, I was in that webinar in which you hacked the bank. You rock. Thanks, Gisela. You rock too. Thanks for being a supporter. Thanks for being a fan. That was a very cool webinar. If any of you guys missed it, there's a recording on my YouTube channel. Bravo, IoT, baby. GTFOH, give me a Cobra jet engine and a Cougar. Get the fuck out of here. Oh yeah, sorry, I've never seen GTFOH before. Yeah, totally. Like knowing what the OS is, what the version is, all that's really important, guys. Exploit identified discovered in the previous analysis phase. That's important as well. Determine if pivoting and persistent access is possible to the target HRTCU. Okay. House cleaning stuff. Again, if you're on LinkedIn and you're watching me there, if you don't mind, I'm trying to boost my watch hours on YouTube. So watch my videos and watch my live streams from YouTube. That's a listen night /live. And you can see the live broadcast from YouTube. It really helps my watch hours on YouTube. Thank you. But if you want to stay on LinkedIn, that's fine too. Okay. Actually, I think the delay on LinkedIn is longer than the delay on YouTube. I'm seeing myself pop up more in real time on my live stream on YouTube. So if you care about that, just an FYI. All right. Let's see. Thanks, Gisela. It was definitely cool. No new questions? All right. Okay, you guys, do you know what you're looking at right now? Can any of you guess? That is it starts with a W and ends with a BS. WBS. This is a work breakdown structure. It's based off of work packages. You guys, I get made fun of. People tell me I need a project plan just to go get a cup of coffee. Yes, I'm drinking coffee. This is actually pretty cool. My wife bought it for me. Thank you, Mel. I love you. An Ember mug. These things are amazing. It's a smart mug. It actually works off Bluetooth. And yes, I've tried hacking it. It keeps your coffee at 145 degrees, and there's even a mobile app. It's really cool. Anyway, okay. So my point being is I'm very OCD about project management, and I really suggest creating work packages, creating a WBS. So here I've created a WS for you guys. Based off of starting off with at level 2 would be the individual communication interfaces that you might go after in a connected car pen test. The vulnerability categories that you might categorize those vulnerabilities under, and then the individual work packages. So under authentication authorization vulnerabilities, you would have a work package for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, USB, GSM, or the operating system. You know, I really feel like I spoon-fed a lot of this stuff to you guys with the templates, with the diagrams and the drawings, even giving you a sample engagement, project engagement form. All of that stuff hopefully really helps you guys. All right. Project management. Speaking about being OCD with project management, I have taken the project management body of knowledge phase. So, like there are different threat model frameworks, there's also different project management frameworks. The PMBOK is just one of many. There's Prince 2. I'm not going to say anything bad about any of the other project management frameworks because I don't know enough about them. But I have always taken to the PMBOK. I've always been big with the whole PMP certification. So what did I do? I took the PMBOK phase for all of you and I matched it up with the PTES phase, with the individual tactics and techniques you would do or activities you would perform in that stage. Yes, another feather in the Alyssa nightcap. Conception initiation is the first PMBOK phase. There's no PTES aligned phases in that. Jenny Chow, thanks for joining us. Do you consider location privacy as important info to hack the car in your model? Yes, I do. Privacy is a big thing. As a matter of fact, a lot of the connected car pen tests that I get, oh, there's something I need to bring up with you guys with these NXP boards. We'll do that in the next episode. Yes, privacy vulnerabilities are huge, especially with, what was it that the UK passed? The privacy thingy, GDPR. Privacy has been a huge impetus for a lot of projects that I've been awarded in connected car pen testing. Definition and planning is the next stage. That's going to be your pre-engagement, your intelligence gathering, and your threat modeling phases of the PTES. In the activities here, you're going to be fleshing out the scope and budget, the work breakdown structure, your Gantt charts, your communication plan, and your risk management plan. So again, a lot of these will be deliverables and actual activities that you would perform in each. I'm telling you, if there was a New York Times bestseller category for hacking books, this would make it. This was the coolest book to grace the shelves of car hacking books. Sorry, remote hacking books, because it's the only one. Anyway, launch or execution. That is the PMBOK phase. And the alignment to that is the vulnerability analysis, exploitation, and post-exploitation phase of the PTES. You're going to do continuous status and tracking. You guys, please don't walk into a car pen test on your own without a project manager. Spend the extra money. It's not like, as consultants, you are going to demand a much higher hourly rate for doing a car pen test than a regular network pen test. Why? You guys tell me why. Supply and demand. There is a much lower supply of car pen testers than there is demand. So what does that do with the supply-demand curves? Do you guys remember economics? So yes, you can demand a much higher hourly rate. On car pen tests, I've charged anywhere from $350 an hour to more, plus T&E for travel and housing. It's a very lucrative business as a consultant. So my point being is, if you're charging $350, $450 an hour for a car pen test, spend the $50 an hour to get a freaking project manager. Seriously, it is so appreciated by your client. It will make sure that you can bury your head as like an ostrich in the dirt doing your car pen test while a project manager is watching your ass, making sure that you're delivering things on time, creating these project schedules, the project charter, all of those things. Get yourself a good project manager. They don't have to be on site. They can be remote. You can find them on upwork.com, whatever. Just go find yourself a project manager. Okay, performance monitoring. There's really no PTES stage for that. But here you're going to do objectives, defining objectives, quality deliverables, effort and cost tracking, and performance monitoring. Project close, that's where you actually submit your final report to the client. I would recommend doing a draft report and then a final. Let them weigh in on it. Don't surprise them with your findings. In a car pen test, that's definitely different than a regular pen test. So, yeah, in a regular pen test, you're regularly giving the client vulnerabilities and findings along the way. Because I've had sysadmins fix things in the middle of a pen test because of that. So you rarely do that. In a car pen test, it's more common than not that you're giving results along the way. And if you're not doing that, I would strongly advise you to stop doing that. You don't want to surprise the client right before, because they've got these really strict deadlines along the way to deliver stuff to the car maker while they're working on it. All right. All right, you guys, this is a project concept document. Yes, it's a sample project concept document. So what you're looking at here is all of the things that you want to define in the project management stage, in the initiation and conception stage. Sorry, I keep like wiping my nose. I'm sorry. I know it's like awkward, but it's like my weird twitch. Some people like cough or say, I wipe my nose. It's weird. Okay. Anyway, this is a sample project concept document for a head unit and TCU pen test. You're going to put your name and your email, the department, project sponsors. These are the people who are sponsoring the project. This is like your business, the person on the business side, who's basically providing the funding or resources for the project. This is ultimately the end user or the customer who you're performing the work directly with. This is going to be the automaker. So let me explain this. A lot of the times you will not be doing work directly for the automaker. You'll be doing work for the tier one, the OEM, who was required by the automaker to do pen testing of their head unit or their TCU before it was packaged up and submitted and put into the fleet. So the customer is important to define here, like the automaker and the actual tier one OEM. Project statement. This is the overall purpose of the project. Why are you performing the project? What's the point? Is it a requirement of the RFP by the automaker? Here's a background. This is a brief history of the events leading up to the need for this project. So why, is it part of the competitive analysis stage? Whatever it is. What problem are you guys trying to solve? Like, let's not just do a pen test for the sake of doing a pen test. What's the problem we're setting out to solve? Is this a white box pen test? Is it a black box? Is it a gray box? What are the things that they're wanting to actually define, set out, and solve? Are they worried about vulnerabilities related to Wi-Fi, related to Bluetooth? Is a risk assessment needed? All of these things are in the problem definition. The desired state is basically the condition that will exist upon successful completion of the project. This is where they want to arrive at. This is where the client wants to be at when everything's done. When you've handed in that final report and they're ready to remediate the findings. Your project objectives is basically the goals or conditions that want to be attained as an outcome to the project. Expected outcomes and results. These are the advantages and consequences or the improvements that will be realized as a result of the project. A lot of times you can see that this might actually help you in getting the project funded. This is a great way to sell to upper leadership if you're working for the actual automaker. I did actually have the head of security for a very large ride-sharing company who is working on a fleet of autonomous vehicles reach out to me and say that they're using my book to perform pen testing against their cars. And so if you're working for the actual company, this is a great way to get funding for the project, for the pen testing. Advantages and consequences of that project. Assumptions. What are the assumptions that you're making or accepting as being true but with no documented proof? So like, for example, Asia OEM will receive a minimum of 3 bids from IT security companies who specialize in connected car penetration testing to consider before making a decision to award the work. These are the assumptions. Anticipated funding. Where's the funding coming from? What department? What's the budget of this? Yeah, you guys, car pen testing, you're not talking about double digits. You're talking about like 6 figures in the work that you're doing. Usually 6 figures. Let's see, there was a project where I worked on where it was like almost $500,000. So again, you can make a lot of money doing connected car pen testing. This is the list of departments that are going to be impacted. This is really important. Again, knowing who your stakeholders are, knowing who you're performing the work for. For example, in this particular exercise, the telematics division and the infotainment division will be affected by this pen test. Okay, let's check for any new comments or questions. Bravo, man. How do you reach out to OEMs versus the actual automaker? Do you use TR? What's TR? I've never heard of TR. Use a lot of acronyms, Bravo. Gotta flesh those out. I'm an old woman. I don't use as many acronyms as you. So actually in the previous cases, in the previous projects that I've been involved in, I was fortunate enough to where the OEMs know me as a brand in connected car pen testing. If you think about it, the world of cybersecurity is really small. The world of car pen testing is even smaller. So you pretty much know who the major people are, the major brands are, individual brands are in car pen testing, like Robert Leale, Ian Tabor, Alyssa Knight. So it's a small world. So I usually the OEMs reach out to me. If you're planning on doing outreach and letting your salespeople know, Bravo, like who to contact, your decision makers are going to be on like the vehicle security team. Cybersecurity. You got to be careful because like if you're on LinkedIn and you're looking for cybersecurity at the OEMs, they might be internal network security versus vehicle security. So make sure you know who you're talking to. Why? Do you find it challenging to provide steps to replicate your findings in your report? Ooh, good question. I don't find it challenging because I'm really OCD and I document the hell out of everything I'm doing and I take a lot of screenshots. I'm even notorious for creating videos. You guys think about it. Hard drive space is like a commodity these days. You can have, you know how like Samsung T5. Freaking, I remember I started out running a BBS in the BBS scene in the early 90s. And this is 2 terabytes, a 2 terabyte SSD. This thing was like, what, $400? Do you guys remember when like it was what, $100 a meg? Hard drive space is cheap, everyone. So turn on the video recorder. If you think about it, video is just a bunch of photos being taken in a single second. So you can grab some great photos just out of just continuously video recording your screen. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. Bravo. How do you reach out to OEMs versus the actual automaker? Oh, sorry, I read that one. TVA. At least I'm not a noob on the PMP side. A noob, sorry, on the PMP side. I was going to take the test before the COVID-19. Cool. Yeah, you guys. Is cybersecurity practitioners, especially if you're a consultant, you can't just be like, I know how to write a Metasploit module in Ruby. I'm elite. I'm the shit. I don't need to know about anything else. I don't need social skills. I don't need business skills. All I know, I'm a coder. I can write a buffer overflow. It doesn't matter, especially if you're a consultant. If you're a consultant, you got to get the business side. You got to get the sales side. You got to get the project management side. You know, it's not just, and I've seen clients do this. They're not just going to go out there and hire like, I don't want Alyssa Knight because she can't code. I want Jim because he can code. The clients don't make decisions that way. You got to be able to bust out an amazing statement of work. You got to be able to have an awesome project schedule laid out. You got to have those project plans scheduled out. You got to have your project manager manage that relationship. You got to have your shit together. So I agree with you, TVA. You gotta understand project management. I know a lot of you guys are consultants. You gotta get the project management side. Gisela, what is your opinion about the Xiaomi configuration for vehicles that is starting to be in use? I haven't looked into that, so you definitely know more than I do on that. So yeah, I know nothing about Xiaomi. I'd love for you to explain it to me though. Have you worked on QNX? Lokish, thanks for joining us. No, I have not. Most of the stuff that I come across, let's see, what's the most common thing? And maybe this will address your question on Xiaomi, Gisela. So I think on the software side, it's Android OS. Some other things I run across is NVIDIA Linux. Um, that's mostly it. Android, Android OS, and Linux, NVIDIA Linux. It's very common for me. So hopefully that answered your question. BlackBerry Q&A. Oh, BlackBerry. No. And you know what? I actually was really surprised, and I got to hand it to BlackBerry on this because they're there. BlackBerry is that, like, you guys remember that toy you used to beat up when we were little, and it would come back up after you hit it? That's BlackBerry. They refuse to go down. I went to their website and they're like really big in automotive cybersecurity now. Like, what the hell happened? Like, what is that? What is happening at BlackBerry? I have not run into BlackBerry QNX, but I am sure over the next few years, as BlackBerry continues to build their brand in automotive cybersecurity, that I'm going to run into it more often. Okay. Why? Which phase of the development do you perform threat analysis? Is it before the OEM freeze requirements or at a certain phase of the SDLC? Freaking great question, why? I think I've got it in as step 2. But it's definitely covered in chapter 1. I typically do threat analysis very early on because if you think about it, it's more of a documentation exercise rather than hands on keyboard, eyes on glass. I learned that term from my wife. Thanks, Mel. Yeah, it's more of a documentation exercise and research exercise. So I like to do a lot of that stuff during the documentation collection phase. Yeah, man, we're getting a lot of viewers today. I think this is when I need to do my live streams, is in the evenings on Saturdays. Let me know if that works better for you guys on the comment thread. Okay, let's talk about RACI charts. Microsoft Excel, guys. Responsible is R, A is accountable, C is consulted, I is informed. I like to break them up by team and by function. So typically I'm the team lead. And then I have my 4 pen testers. And I have a different pen tester for each interface. So yeah, we're getting some comments in on BlackBerry OS. Thanks, Bravo. I need to look into this. I've actually been very intrigued by what BlackBerry is doing. I need to look at this. BlackBerry OS, bulletproof in motion, but obscurity does not equal security. I learned that from Obi-Wan. Thanks, Bravo. That is true. Security through obscurity. Oh man, I used to say those at conferences. Did you sit in on one of my conferences in Germany? I used to say that a lot in Germany. That is a big tactic by a lot of OEMs I found was they would practice this whole security through obscurity thing, and I'll talk more about that. But they'll like encrypt a key, decrypt it, and store it unencrypted on the file system in a directory somewhere. It's weird stuff. I've seen a lot of weird stuff. So the RACI chart, I typically break it up by communication interface, and then I assign it to a particular pen tester on my team. So you guys will recognize these as the individual vulnerability categories, and then who's responsible for performing those individual activities. So make sure you have a RACI chart. You guys, I would be really surprised if you went in, like Bravo Man, if you went in on a pen test just by yourself, or TVA if you went in on a pen test just by yourself, or Gisela if you went in on a pen test just by yourself. It's usually a team, guys. I mean, especially when you're talking about how much money is going into a connected car pen test. These are big budgets. If you go in by yourself on a pen test, I think your client may actually look at you cross-eyed. It's like, where are the rest of you? You're going to do an entire car pen test of a TCU over a head unit by yourself. I like to consider myself a Jane of a few, master, a Jane of all, master of a few. Yeah, I can't be great at everything. I'm definitely not, an expert at decompiling binaries and combing source code because I'm a self-professed non-programmer. But I've got someone that does that really freaking well. I care more about Bluetooth than I did before. There's a great series of videos on me hacking BLE devices on my YouTube channel. Check them out. Bluetooth and GSM and Wi-Fi are my big ones. But I'll typically bring in someone who's an expert at hacking Wi-Fi and give that to them. But I'll typically latch onto the things I care about the most and do that, and I'll delegate out the other things. This is where your RACI chart is really important. All right. Are you guys ready for the best part of this whole live stream? It's the microbench setup. Yes, we're gonna go into that right now. I actually priced this out for you guys. The new Blade RF came out. So, sorry if I'm screaming in your guys' ears. If you guys have earphones on, I'm sorry. I get loud. It's just my thing. It's the ABCs of me. The new Blade RF came out, which supports, are you guys ready for this? 5G. So, yeah, for those clients who are hopping on the 5G bandwagon, your new Blade RF that Nuon is selling supports 5G. I'm gonna go get my hands on it. You know, this is Blade RF 2.0, but that's actually a typo. That really should be Blade RF Rev 2, because they came out with like a Rev 2. This is Blade RF 1.1 R2. Okay, so freaking Nuon. Everyone's a business. Everyone's in the business of making money. I get it. But the original Blade RF I bought in the first Rev, they had this really crappy connector or something for the USB port, and it freaking broke. And I'm really careful with my electronics. And it freaking broke the USB port. It just freaking came off the board. And yeah, I was like, Nuon, you should replace this. This is clearly a manufacturer defect. They made me buy a new one. It was so not cool. It's not like these things are incredibly expensive, but still, if I couldn't afford, $480, that's a lot of money. So I want you guys to go pick these up. We're going to be, except for the value can and vehicle spice stuff. Okay, this right here is can stuff, you guys. Robert Leali, Ian Tabor, they are amazing with the CAN bus. That's not me. I'm not into the CAN bus. You don't have to go buy these. You also don't have to buy this. But for the purpose of our live streams and for the book, you guys are going to want to go pick up the Blade RF version 2 and the Hack 5 Wi-Fi Pineapple. Tetra. Let me explain why. They have two versions of the Pineapple. There is the Tetra. And there is the Nano. The Nano will fit in your hand, and there's a picture of me holding it in the book. And then there's the Tetra. The Tetra supports 5 gigahertz channels, whereas the Nuon, as far as sorry, my wife is walking behind me and it scared the hell out of me. The Wi-Fi Pineapple Nano only supports 2.4 gigahertz channels, and the Tetra, hopefully, I think that's my wife, or it's like a burglar who broke in and is trying to kill me right now. Okay, I think it's my wife. The new, sorry, I'm all getting like discombobulated. Okay, you need to buy the Tetra because most of the OEMs will connect their TCUs to their head units over a 5 gigahertz channel. I found out the hard way. I did not know that's why the TCU was not associating to my Rogue access point, is because I was using the Nano and it does not support 5 gigahertz channels, and the TCU was using a 5 gigahertz channel. You need to buy the Tetra. Okay, I know it's almost the end of June. For those of you who have a copy of my book on Kindle or have a copy of my book on like a hard copy, I ran a contest for the month of June. If you post a picture, yeah, it's definitely not a burglar. It's my wife. I thought someone was coming in to kill me. If you post a photo holding my book, either on a Kindle or the hard copy, and someone who posts a photo with the most creative photo will win a free Wi-Fi Pineapple Tetra. I will buy you a Wi-Fi Pineapple Tetra if you have the most creative photo. Kristen Cotton jumped out of an airplane holding my book. It was epic. So if there's only a few days left in June, I get that. But if in the next few days, if you can post a creative photo holding my book, it'll be epic. Okay, so that's that. All right, these are the software tools we're going to be installing, especially in the next episode. We're going to be installing 8BTS. We're going to be installing GNU Radio, GQRX, Fluxion, and Gatacker for the Bluetooth stuff. Okay, so let's see if I can actually maneuver this and show you guys. All right. So this is a series of NXP boards that I have included in my series of BLE hacking videos, and I use the Raspberry Pi. So I do walk through configuring, setting up a BLE attack. More and more devices are being installed into connected cars, as well as an ignition system, as well as locking mechanisms powered by BLE. And I explain how to employ a BLE attack against BLE devices in that series of videos. So go check them out. They're KnighTV episodes. I think it's episode 14 or 13. So we will be installing and configuring all of these. So get ready. Okay, this is probably the most important diagram in the entire book. Screenshot this because I think it's the only big version of it that's out there. This is the actual attack lab that I created, and I actually diagrammed it out because it was so freaking complicated. So if you're building an actual attack lab and you get your hands on a head unit and a TCU from either a client or off of something like eBay, because you can actually buy them on eBay, this is what you're going to have. Your host will be running either like Kali or Ubuntu or your flavor of choice. I had a Wi-Fi Pineapple connected to it, strike out Nano and replace that with Tetra. This is before I learned that it doesn't work. And then the Blade RF. And then on the same table, I had the microbench. All right, let me explain this. The telematics control unit typically will have serial ports on it. This is the individual ports for the NAD, the SH2, and the WC, which will be connected to a UART USB converter. And it's all it is a converter that converts serial to USB, because who freaking has serial ports on their laptops today? It's just not possible to find one. So that's going to convert your serial ports to USB. And then this is going to be your individual USB WC, SH2, and NAD to a USB hub. That USB hub will be connected to a Vector 1610 USB CAN adapter. These things, everyone, are not cheap. Let me go back to this. I didn't publish a price for it. But the Vector equipment, oh my God, that's going to probably be more expensive than all of this stuff over here. I mean, it's not going to break the bank too much. I think it's in the thousands. Like, I think it's 1,000, 2,000. It's expensive. If you can get your client to pick up the tab on that, then do it. I know I see questions and comments coming in, guys. I promise to get to you. I just want to get through this diagram. The head unit is going to connect its HMI CAN and HUI CAN out, and that will there's actually an adapter for that HMI CAN on the Vector device, which connects to your USB hub. The TCU will be typically connected over wireless to the head unit. This is a very common configuration, everyone. Can you believe that? Evil twin attack, and we'll walk through that. I actually did attack the certificate exchange. Our team attacked the certificate exchange with the automaker backend. This is called OTA, or over-the-air updates, and they actually use SMS, everyone. Yes, it is a thing. All right, so this is your diagram. Freaking screenshot that. Definitely keep that as a screenshot. It's important. All right, let's get to some questions. I agree with you. You have to have a team. I agree, TVA. Thanks for agreeing with me. Great minds think alike. Why? Are we going to use a Raspberry Pi or any particular to connect these devices? Yes, you guys go to my video on, I've got it right in front of me. It's episode 11, everyone, Hacking BLE. Had quite a lot of views. There is a shopping list, an Amazon shopping list of links where you can go to buy that equipment. Yeah, so there's the particular Raspberry Pi package that if you're going to go out and buy the Raspberry Pi, get the one in my shopping list because it includes the adapters and everything in your kit. It's the Cana kit. And I linked to it in that video. So go grab that specific Raspberry Pi from Cana kit. So you're going to want to buy 2 of those Raspberry Pis and 2 external USB adapters. Again, the shopping list is on that video. Go check it out. M. Yusuf Faisal, thanks for joining us. Are there any labs or simulation tools we can use in a lab setup if we don't have access to many cars and you're just getting into car ethical hacking practice? Yeah, guys, this is really tough to kind of build on your own and have in your own home, cyber range home. Oh, by the way, everyone, this coming week, I finally bring you behind the scenes of our home in my home cyber range. In my home office with my wife, I am going to be doing a studio tour of the Alyssa Knight studio. My wife and I are building a brand new house here in Las Vegas, and I wanted to do a studio tour before we move into the new house. So you guys will be able to see my equipment. You're going to be able to see everything I use in my cyber range, in my hacking lab. I actually have CCTV cameras in a 40U rack mount in our closet where our coats are hanging. It's pretty savage. So I'm going to be doing a studio tour. Okay, back to your question. I'm Yusuf Faisal. Yeah, building a home hacking lab for a car is tough. You can find head units and TCUs on eBay. I found it's really difficult to find them on Amazon. What's that Chinese version of Amazon or eBay, Chinese version of eBay? There's eBay and then there's the Chinese version of eBay. What is it? Oh my God. All right. Well, why don't you guys put it in the chat? I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's like China's version of Amazon. Alibaba. Thanks, Dolik. Alibaba. So on Alibaba as well as eBay, I've found TCUs and head units. So Yusuf, if you go check out eBay, that's where you can find a lot of stuff like this. So building your own home hacking kit. Maybe we should do some videos on that, on actually building a home hacking lab for a car. That would be a cool episode. All right. Guess what, everyone? This is a real photo of my hacking lab. So this is the first version of the Nuon Blade RF hooked up to my HP laptop. I wouldn't recommend using your production laptop for your home hacking lab, especially for hacking cars. Let me explain why. Some of you will install it using VMware. Bad idea. Those virtual device drivers and everything can be a real pain in the ass. Also, it's nice to just have the whole system available to you and the ports and not running into port issues. Laptops are so cheap these days, you guys. Here I'm using an HP Spectre. You don't need to go out and spend like $2,500 on a laptop like I did. But just go grab yourself a Dell. Go grab yourself. PC laptops are so freaking cheap. You don't have to go buy a MacBook. Go pick up a Dell. Go pick up a freaking, I don't know, StinkPad. I don't know. Go pick up something, install it on there. So in our next episode, we are going to together build a rogue base station. We are going to do that together. It is the most common question I get. Alyssa, I need help. Help me build this. Yay, BTS is confusing as fuck. So help me out. Yes, a junkyard. Ooh, that's a good, why? That's a great idea. Hit a junkyard, because you can actually go into a junkyard, and I didn't know this, but you can go to those junkyards that have cars that have been involved in horrible accidents and have been bricked and will never drive again, and you can actually pull parts out of cars, and people do this all the time. So you can hit a local junkyard and pull the head unit and the TCU out of a car. Now, you're going to want to bring someone that knows where the heck to find the TCU and how the heck to remove the head unit. But yeah, great idea, YY. All right, everyone, that is the last slide. That is the last slide. Thank you for joining us today. We had a lot of freaking watchers across both LinkedIn and YouTube. This is amazing. TVA, my wife told me not to touch the car. Definitely. And if you accidentally brick your car because you were effing around with it too much, just drive it in or call, Tesla or call whomever and let them know, hey, you got to come pick this car up. Something's wrong with it. Don't tell them you hacked it. Don't tell them you did anything about it, because I bet you it's only a matter of time before the automakers start to catch on that there's a growing number of car pen testers and car hackers, and they're going to start not to cover stuff like this, because I guarantee you this will break the warranty. Um, yeah, don't touch your own car. All right, guys. I'll give a few minutes because of the lag to see if there's any last minute questions or comments before we break. Because once the live chat ends, I notice YouTube and LinkedIn, at least on, I think YouTube, closes the chat off so you can't ask any more questions. One thing I do want to say again, if you're trying to figure out how to support Night Riders and support Alyssa Knight, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit that bell icon, and watch my videos. It really drives up my watch time. Sit there, watch my videos. They're amazing. Comment on them. I respond to comments right away on videos. I publish a new video and a new live stream every week. And I publish a blog article and try and get a Byline technical article out there on Forbes and Wired. So I'm constantly publishing content as a content creator. So if you're just madly in love with me and you're stalking me and you love my stuff and you're trying to figure out how to support me, share my stuff to your own people, comment on my videos, watch my videos. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you, Bravo Man. I appreciate the compliment. I am awesome. I'm only awesome because of all of you. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for all of your support. So I love you with all my heart. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stop watching little old me and go out there and spend time with your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until I see you again next week, take care of yourselves and each other.